Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I'm Gary, your host. This is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. This time, a little on the lighter side. I want to take a look at Hanna-Barbera's TV Stars number 3 from 1978. This is Marvel Comics. They had, at the time, they had the license. Of course, the Hanna-Barbera stuff is all owned by Warner Brothers now, so only DC produces any of those things. But at the time, for a while, I don't know how many issues. This is issue number 3. I don't remember seeing too many of them. This was a bi-monthly title. And it was in conjunction, of course, with part of promotion for the for a variety of animated series. And this is, they just like go through and maybe have 1 or 2 stories each show once in a while. As you can see the list of some of the shows here, you can see Grape Ape and Captain Caveman, and I don't even know what that is, and this Lion, I don't know those. Those are shows that I didn't know at the time. And before we get into that, though, I wanted to give a shout out to some other YouTube channels that I occasionally care to watch. One is Comic Magazine Musings. Comic Magazine Musings. And the other one is Patriot Comics. Patriot Comics. And then, remind you, if you haven't gotten yours already, my comic book, available only on Amazon for $7.99. Bizarre Brain Comics Anthology. That's all you have to put into the search bar. And some adventure, some humor, some gags, and some stuff that I hope you would enjoy. And back to TV Stars. And this is a superhero special. And that's kind of, playing a little loose there with superhero in one of them. And this just features Dynomutt. Dynomutt was the sidekick of Blue Falcon. I like Blue Falcon. I don't like Dynomutt. And unfortunately, this is basically a solo Dynomutt story. Blue Falcon is barely in it right at the beginning. And anyway, and it also features the Herculoids. I mean, this is when Dynomutt was brand new. And then they had recently brought back at the same time, I think, both some new and old episodes of the Herculoids. Of course, the Herculoids were for a time in the 60s. They come out of the 60s. I loved the Herculoids in the 60s, as well as Space Ghost. Space Ghost also made a return and may have been both old and new episodes at the time. So I had some stories here. And then the cover is done by Alex Toth. And see his name right here, and you can recognize his lettering if you're familiar enough with it. Kind of recognize his lettering here. And of course, the cover illustration has nothing to do with the story inside. So take a little look. And the first story, the lead story, is Dynomutt. Of course, Dynomutt with the Blue Falcon there. They're catching the fiddler crab, and this guy's walking by. And he's a baker, and he winds up accidentally using some radioactively contaminated flour. It makes a giant, just for fun, makes a giant-sized gingerbread man, which comes to life and wreaks havoc on the city. They get Dynomutt and Blue Falcon get a call from their boss. What's going on? And go, what? And Dynomutt says, I'll take care of it myself. And he goes and he confronts the the gingerbread man creating. And it's just a real story. This is written by, I forgot to mention, written by Mark Evanier. And I think maybe all 3 stories are written by Mark Evanier. but only the first and last one has his credits. And Mark Evanier is a long-time writer for comics and television, and for decades has worked with Sergio Aragonés on Gru, and done a bunch of other things. And the artwork is by Paul Norris, and someone I've always liked. Remember Paul Norris? He was co-creator of Aquaman back in the 40s, and he did a lot of stuff for Gold Key. Drew Tarzan for several years. Following that was the Jungle Twins, and he even did the Jungle Jim strip for a while. And so Dynomutt's getting his dino butt handed to him. He comes back. I mean, this thing's even artillery shells bouncing off him. But Dynomutt gets an idea. Has the baker. Oh my gosh, nothing wants to open here. And they make a giant gingerbread woman for every gingerbread man, and he gets off, takes off with her, and then she starts nagging him to death. Then they got the Herculoids. I always liked that one. That's real cool, and that's more science fiction than superhero. And this is with art by Will Munoz. I think is how you pronounce his name. I don't know anything about him. And Dave Stevens. He's probably doing the inks. Now, you might recognize the name Dave Stevens. This would have been early in his career. And he later created The Rocketeer, which is has been off and on popular comic long after his death, and had the Disney movie in the 90s. And here, Xandor riding around sees a menace. All these little critters coming out of a cauldron from another planet. He's eating everything. Zap, 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 trying to crunch all the critters, and see that this giant warrior statue has been left by the alien beings, and they're fighting because these bugs are munching everything. Soon will munch everything, munch the whole world away, and nothing will remain. And then they realize that that's not a statue, that is an alien warrior. They manage with Igu the rock ape, managed to defeat it, and then they get the antidote to destroy all the invading bug critters. And they went, but you can see little hints of Dave Stevens' style in some of this artwork here, especially the slightly extra voluptuous way in which Xandor's wife here, I forgot her name, is portrayed here. It's still very very strong model style illustration, right on with Hanna-Barbera models, but it's just slightly extra voluptuous, and he is known as a good girl artist. But remember, now that we're getting here to Space Ghost, which is written by Mark Evanier, drawn by Alex Toth, just a little reminder that all of these characters were designed by Alex Toth for Hanna-Barbera. So here is Alex Toth actually doing the Space Ghost story. Space Ghost flying through space in his ship, and come across this thing. It looks like an old-fashioned car flying through space. And you get the guy. It's an inventor who just built a spaceship that looks like a car, and he's trying to find a way to go back in time because he wants to go. He wants to live in the 1930s. Anyway, then the villain, the Buzzard, attacks the Space Ghost's ship. Space Ghost, you can faintly see, they did a real good job of doing his invisibility here because you can barely see him even there. Goes to buzzard ship to confront him personally, and then it's all a trap. It was just a dummy there, not the real buzzard, and he can't get out of the ship, and then the ship is about to be destroyed, and Space Ghost ship with his sidekicks is disabled, and that just leaves our goofy old inventor here. He's the one who manages to help free him. Space Ghost busts the buzzard, and the guy goes off on his way. And it's it's very juvenile type writing. It's intended for kids, juvenile reading, intended for young kids. It's just sheer fun to see these characters in comic form and have a good time reading it and seeing these artists, all of whom have relatively rare at this time and later. So I wanted to thank you for joining me. I hope you kind of enjoyed that little look back and a little bit of kiddie nostalgia for Hanna-Barbera's TV stars from Marvel Comics, 1978. Thank you for joining me. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy this and all my wide variety of comics that I cover here. And do leave a comment. Which of these Hanna-Barbera characters do you like best? Which do you have the most? Which do you think is best known? Are any of these ones that you've never heard of? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, comics are art.